What up, is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads, where we do daily Dynasty videos. Please subscribe if you haven't too. We're trying to really grow this channel here. We've done awesome here in this first month. So thank you for all that have subscribed so far. We started off today in Minnesota at negative 27 degrees. I hope it's warmer where you're at right now. This is, of course, Monday today. You might be seeing this Wednesday or Thursday. But we are going to be doing the top 10 running backs of the last three classes. So 2019, 2020, and 2021. So we're doing the rookies too. We're adding the rookies into the last two classes because I see a lot of like, would you trade this pick for this player? Would you trade this? Would you trade 101? Would you trade the Najee Harris pick for DeAndre Swift? Like these are like trades that I'm actually seeing and questions that I'm actually seeing on a consistent basis. And we might as well just go through a simple video of a top 10, and then you can see, well, where would I draft? Where would I trade pick 101 for, or what running backs would I trade him for? If that makes all sense. All right, anyways, we're going to start off with number one. Number one in the last three classes, and this is 2020 class, he was, of course, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's a number 6 running back overall in Dynasty. I've seen him go number 2, number 3. I mean, he's really shot up boards. I mean, we're talking about RB4 of last year, and that is just incredible for how he started off the year. Where it looked like his vision was poor. He just didn't look like he was following the blocking scheme that Frank Wright had. And he had 1,169 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. Overall, I mean, I don't really see any other of the running backs. I mean, 2020 was an amazing class, as you see, but I don't really see any other running backs taking over that spot of Jonathan Taylor unless, A, they get another running back there, which I think is highly doubtful. I think Nyheim Hines is there to stay. Or B, they just have a mess at quarterback and they just can't score. And all of a sudden, Jonathan Taylor gets good money yards, maybe gets 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 yards, and he just doesn't get touchdowns. But in any other case, he's number one. So number one. Number two, we're going to go with CEH. And I've been a big CEH fan. He's my RB4 going into the class of 2020, even ahead of Akers and such. But he is my number 2 running back just primarily because of the situation. We look at Kansas City. We know that Damian Williams is probably going to come back. Le'Veon Bell's out of the door. Darrell Williams probably out of the door. I think CEH is going to develop more. This is, again, predicting the future, not the past. The past is a little sketchy for CEH, even in the playoffs and such, but I think his future is super bright. And of course, he was in class of 2020 as well. But my number 3 out of this entire the last 3 classes is going to be Josh Jacobs. He was in the 2019 class, but again, he was primarily probably the dynasty pick of 101, which is, of course, in standard, or in Superflex, he could have been a little bit later down, a couple down, but because of behind some quarterbacks. But in standard, of course, 101 is where he was, and nothing should change. He was 14th and 8th as a fantasy finisher, and you could see him again finishing in the top 12 running backs. I know he has DUI or DWI, one of the two. I don't know the difference between that. I've never gotten into that trouble, but he has one of those issues pending after his last NFL game. So he might get a 2-game suspension, but again, we're talking a short blip on the radar. In redraft, yeah, that sucks. But in Dynasty, it's just a small inconvenience for the long-term gains. Number 4, again in the 2020 class. And we haven't heard of anybody from the 2021 class, which means all these running backs I'd rather have than the pick 101 in standard or PPR leagues. Number 4 is going to be J.K. Dobbins. And number 4 and 5, I said, are super close. And if you watch my running back 6 through 12 in total Dynasty, you knew that J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift are super, super close in rankings. And I can see the difference. They are almost apple and orange. What would you rather have? You have a guy that I think J.K. Dobbins is super good in that system, but probably won't get pass catching. I think their offense is very, very potent at times, and he has a high score upside. But he's not going to get passing work, like we said. And then we have DeAndre Swift, who's my number 5 in that offense, in Detroit offense. Again, probably going to be used as that dump-off guy. Probably going to be used a ton. But again, not in a great offense. And I don't really like Jared Goff. They're in a rebuild offense as well. So you have these kind of contrast type of running backs. But DeAndre Swift is my number 5 running back. And again, another running back, of course, that I would have ahead of Najee Harris, ahead of Travis Etienne at this point, is Antonio Gibson. I really, really enjoyed watching Antonio Gibson's workload at Washington and how he just showed that he looked like a 3-down running back. I know J.D. McKissic will be there slightly, but we're talking Antonio Gibson is a top 12 RB at the bottom half of that RB class, or RB total class, I guess you could say. I mean, he's right there. He has all the abilities to be a really good pass catcher. I mean, he showed that at Memphis with Kenneth Gainwell. He was like the 1B to Kenneth Gainwell's 1A. But one of these things like you see with Kamara in college when he was at Tennessee is you saw that Kamara was not utilized fully in Tennessee, and then in New Orleans, he was in a perfect offense that worked awesome for him. And Antonio Gibson works in a great fit and great scheme for him. And the way they utilized him and how many touchdowns he had, Antonio Gibson, he was a 3rd-round pick. I would have him ahead of Najee Harris and Travis Etienne at this point, unless they had amazing landing spots. And this is the problem, is because Najee Harris at this point is going to be my RB7 of the last 3 classes, and we don't know what his landing spot's going to be, but I'm just assuming in these cases, I guess, that they're not amazing spots and they're not horrible spots. They're just kind of average spots. So like for Najee Harris, we're thinking Atlanta or something like that, where it's maybe not amazing, but it's not horrible either. But so Najee Harris would be my number 7. He is my RB1 in 2021, but I would rather have the other 6 running backs ahead of him if I was going into Dynasty. We look at Najee Harris. He's about the same age as some of these running backs. And if you look at where his rankings were, if he would have came out last year, he would be probably in the same situation. He'd probably be behind all these different running backs and nothing would change. The same for a lot of people who were putting Travis Etienne way up there in 2020 class. And I looked at his tape and I was like, he's not better than DeAndre Swift. He's not better than J.K. Dobbins. He's not better than Jonathan Taylor. He's behind these running backs. And then I'd rather have the somewhat guarantees of Antonio Gibson. And then Josh Jacobs, of course, number 1 in his class. So then my number 8 is going to be Travis Etienne. And I really do like Travis Etienne as an overall prospect. But again, I don't think he's better than some of those 2020 running backs. So we have to be kind of remindful, I guess, of where Travis Etienne fully belongs in this whole situation. And I believe that 7 and 8 is a good spot for these 2 running backs. And a surprising running back, which is number 9 on the top 10 list, is going to be Devonte Williams, because he was one of those players that wasn't on the board in 2020 where we were looking at. Of course, he wasn't draft eligible, but we weren't looking at him being a super high pick if he would have came out, let's just say, in a perfect world where he could have, if he was draft eligible. He actually improved a ton from his sophomore to junior year and has shot up these boards. And he just shot up my boards. I keep moving him slowly up. He was like RB6 like months ago, then he's up RB5, then RB4, now RB3. I don't think he can go any higher. But then there's certain situations that I could actually see him jump over Travis Etienne or Najee Harris if they are in absolutely horrible situations, which I don't think will happen. I'm like 99% certain Devonte Williams will be RB3, but things change. People get hurt in combines and stuff like that. And just things, you never know. The draft is unpredictable. But my number 9 is Devonte Williams. My number 10, we're rounding out the 10, is Cam Akers. Cam Akers, people are like, oh my goodness, why do you have him so low? Ultimately, I'm not a huge Cam Akers fan on talent. I do like his situation as a Ram, but I mean, we're also looking at a situation where I think, I almost said D'Angelo Russell. I'm in Timberwolves mode, I guess. Why can I not think of his name? Other Rams running back. Whatever. You know what? I'm having a mind blank. That's what happens when it's negative 27 degrees outside. You know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name. Whatever. They have him there. He's another Memphis running back. He's like right around Tony Pollard's time. I can't think of what his name is. Okay, whatever. I gave up. Henderson. Mr. Henderson is there. So if you have Henderson there, I don't think Malcolm Brown will be there. I know that 80% of you guys are probably already like clicked off. They're like, he doesn't even know his running back. I figured it out, okay? Like, it took me a little while. I figured it out. Anyways, but Cam Akers has But he's been splitting a little bit of the backfield. I know that he's also been hurt too, Cam Akers. He's had some nicks and bruises and stuff like not bruises, but he's had some nicks and some slight injuries as well. Oh man, we made it to 10 minutes right now. We did it. We finally made it. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. We're gonna keep doing daily content, and you get to see this face all the time, and you get to hear me ramble on and make nonsense and stuff like that. So please subscribe, right? All right, we will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.